The sun had only begun to stretch across the rooftops of a sleepy Georgia town, casting long shadows over cracked sidewalks and faded storefront awnings. The courthouse clock hadn't yet struck 7, but in a small motel room just a few blocks away, Lillian Mercer was already awake. Her room was modest, bare walls, one suitcase, a folded uniform on a chair, and a phone clutched tightly in her hand. She stood by the window, looking out into the stillness. Her expression was unreadable, the kind forged by years of experience, where emotions were carefully locked away. But her eyes told another story. They were focused, steady. "Yes," she said into the phone. "I've read the full report. The complaints are credible. Patterns are there. I'll go in today. No names, no attention, just observation." She paused, listening. Then her tone sharpened. "Today's hearing will tell us everything about Judge Whitman. I'll see it for myself." Another pause. A quiet nod. "Don't worry. I've done this before. They won't even see me." She ended the call without ceremony, like someone shutting a door they didn't plan to open again. The phone went into a zippered pouch. She turned to the chair and picked up her uniform, navy blue, with a patch on the chest that simply read facilities. It was a janitor's uniform. Unremarkable. Invisible. But the woman putting it on? She was anything but. Lillian zipped the front, slipped into her shoes, and checked herself briefly in the mirror. What she saw wasn't frailty or fatigue. It was resolve, quiet power, strength without boast. From the lining of her suitcase, she took 2 items, a worn notebook and a government-issued ID badge. She slipped both into her bag, but not the badge. That would remain hidden, for now. With a calm breath, she slung her bag over her shoulder, picked up her mop handle, and left the room. The courthouse stood tall at the end of Main Street, a stone monument to history and tradition. But not all of its history was noble. Lillian entered through the back staff entrance, nodding to the security guard, who barely glanced up. "Morning, Miss Lily," he mumbled. "Morning, Dave," she replied softly. Inside, the scent of lemon cleaner mingled with aging paper. Her steps echoed down the hallway as she pushed her cart toward courtroom 4A. People were already gathering. Lawyers shuffled papers. A nervous young woman whispered to her colleague. A bailiff leaned against the wall, arms crossed. But the energy in the room shifted toward the bench at the front, where Judge Whitman would soon preside. Heavy, ominous. Lillian moved quietly to a spot near the back, beside a supply closet. She pulled out her notebook, jotted a quick line, then tucked it away. The defendant, a young black man in his early 20s, sat alone at the defense table. His name was Deshaun Taylor. Hands clasped, eyes downcast, he looked like a man already sentenced. The air around him was taut with judgment, as if guilt had been assumed before any word was spoken. Lillian watched him closely. She saw fear, but also a quiet resistance. Dignity. She then turned her eyes toward the bench. Judge Raymond Whitman. She knew the name well, knew his reputation, knew the numbers, knew the stories swept under procedural rugs. But today wasn't about stories. It was about proof. When Whitman entered, the room rose. Tall, pale, crisp suit under a flowing robe. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. His authority filled the room like a fog. People said he was tough, but fair. But if you were black, poor, or outspoken, the fair part rarely showed. Deshaun had been arrested for allegedly stealing a watch and assaulting a store clerk. But the footage was blurry. The clerk had changed her statement twice, and the prosecutor? He was a golf buddy of the judge. 5 years. That was what they were pushing for. Lillian moved with deliberate ease, wiping a bench, cleaning a window, always watching. When Whitman cut off the defense mid-argument, she noted it. When he leaned forward during prosecution, she marked that too. In the hallway during recess, Lillian found herself near the judge's chambers. She was scrubbing a baseboard when she heard voices. "These kids think they can play the race card and walk free," Whitman said with a laugh. "Your courtroom still runs like it should," replied D.A. Nelson Crane. "Damn right," Whitman said. "I'm not wasting time on some punk with a public defender." Then silence. Until Whitman stepped out. He saw her. Froze. "How long you been standing there?" "Just cleaning, sir." He stepped closer. "Let me be clear. What you think you heard, you didn't. And if you say anything, you'll regret it." He leaned in. "People like you? You don't matter in this place. Stay in your lane." Lillian didn't flinch. She folded her cloth slowly, placed it on her cart, and looked him dead in the eye. Funny thing about people you call invisible, Judge. We tend to see everything. Back inside, the hearing resumed. The defense was flailing. The judge was unmoved. The verdict loomed. Lillian, still in the corner, wasn't just cleaning anymore. When Whitman began to speak, declaring the court ready to pass judgment, a voice interrupted. Your Honor, I have something to say. All heads turned. Lillian Mercer stepped forward. No mop. No gloves. Just poise. Whitman sneered. You? What could you possibly say that matters here? Lillian calmly reached into her coat and revealed her badge. The seal was unmistakable. My name is Lillian Mercer, Associate Justice, United States Supreme Court. Gasps. I came under directive from the Department of Justice, following multiple civil rights complaints tied to this courtroom and Judge Whitman. She produced a folder. Over 6 weeks, I've documented patterns of bias, suppression of defense, and abuse of authority. Today confirms what the data already showed. Whitman paled. In the last 30 cases involving Black or Latino defendants, you ruled in favor of prosecution in 28, often ignoring contradictory evidence. This is political, he snapped. No, Judge, Lillian said. It's accountability. And it's long overdue. She placed the folder on the clerk's desk. A formal review will begin immediately. Every ruling, every sentence. She turned to Deshawn. This isn't just about you. But you matter. And you're not alone. The clerk, voice trembling, read the new verdict. Case dismissed. Defendant is free to go. Deshawn stood, stunned. He turned to Lillian, eyes wide, tears forming. She gave a small nod. You were never invisible to me. Then she walked out. No mop. No uniform. Just her truth. As she stepped into the sunlight, someone called from behind. Ma'am, do you have anything to say? Lillian paused. Justice cannot live where prejudice holds the scales, she said. But truth, once spoken, always finds its light. And then she walked on. The courthouse behind her felt just a little lighter. And the world, perhaps, just a little more just.